Just saying the word peace out loud makes me feel calm and happy. To me, peace is the opposite of war and conflicts. Saying those words out loud doesn't bring me the same comfort. War, conflict. Being born in Sweden, I never experienced anything but peace. My country has not been in war in 200 years, so my references are only from visiting war-torn countries. I tried to imagine how it must feel to grow up in a country with constant conflicts and wars. What does it do to people? The daily life, battling for something to eat, fear of being killed, dreams of a future, a better world. How does one cope with being citizen of a war-torn country? I believe being raised in a country without war lets you take life for granted. You complain in a restaurant that it was not up to your expectations. You become upset when the train is delayed. You may angrily go on social media when you don't receive the proper service during a shopping spree. And you take peace for granted. We need to put all our efforts towards peace, everywhere and always. No one should take peace for granted. When I was a kid, I loved reading, and I was a regular visitor at the library. I borrowed lots of books about children in other places, mainly in Africa. I read about the lives in the village, fetching water from the well, cooking on a fire, sleeping on the floor in their huts, very far from the life I had. This had a strong impression on me. Maybe this is when my interest in human rights and justice started to grow. And when I, some 40 years later, started to work for the UN police, I was finally able to contribute to peacekeeping efforts. To me, policing is a service provided to citizens to protect them from crimes and create a safe environment so people can enjoy a life free of fear. The public trust in the Swedish police is generally high. I guess the biggest difference from my service compared to other less trusted is that we don't have systematic misconduct ordered by the leadership, and the leadership doesn't turn a blind eye to misconduct. The first time I encountered challenge regarding being a police officer was when I became the Secretary General of Amnesty International in Sweden. In meetings, I was constantly told how inappropriate my presence was due to being a police officer. At the same time, there was an incident in Sweden where a person died in custody, allegedly from misconduct by the police. As a result, every time I was supposed to speak about the work we did in Amnesty, the media asked questions about this particular case instead. Me being a police officer overshadowed my work as Secretary General. The experience I gained from Amnesty showed, of course, that the police is not popular everywhere. One major task when reforming police is therefore to regain the public's trust. I have also been a member of the Council of Europe's Committee for Prevention of Torture and Inhuman and Degrading Treatment, or Punishment, maybe more known as CPT. In this capacity, I have met many individuals with horrible stories about the police, as the police in many countries is part of a brutal system where the respect for human rights is non-existing. But let's not forget that the police are necessary when they work properly. It is a fundamental part of a democratic society. For several years, I had the honor of being the police advisor to the UN and the director of the police division. That gave me a deeper understanding of the importance of peacekeeping and how peacekeeping operations have changed today. In the early days, the task was more observation and monitoring, But today, it is more about rebuilding police organizations, and sometimes from scratch. In the police component of a UN peace operation, you can have police officers from 20 different countries. And to make it work, we have guidelines in place to harmonize the different tasks. But at the end of the day, it's the host state's needs that matters. We are not selling the Swedish way of policing or the Indian way. Local ownership is key in rebuilding a society. But is it possible to prevent conflict? It must be. However, there are many challenges in the world. In the world of peacekeeping, we refer to so-called spoilers, meaning individuals or gangs who are benefiting by selling weapons, trafficking in drugs and humans, and other organized crimes. They have no interest in seeing the instability end. To be able to prevent conflict, you need to recognize the signs when a society is on the edge of collapsing. Clear signs of this is when the police is malfunctioning, as well as prosecutors and courts. Not even the prisons are working. These four actors are the cornerstone in a democratic society based on rule of law. When this starts to fall apart, it's urgent to start reforming the police and others to avoid a total collapse, including through vetting. Those who are not found suitable should be taken out. In these circumstances, the police are often also part of the problem, suppressing the population, committing human rights violations. They are serving the state rather than the people. One thing that I have been using for years to illustrate this is the difference between police force and police service. Imagine waking up every morning and thinking of your job in the police service as opposed to your police force. It makes a difference to your mindset. I strongly believe that thinking of a job as a service shifts your mindset and approach in the long run. I remember a visit to Rwanda, a beautiful country that experienced one of history's most brutal weeks when almost 1 people were killed. One colleague there said to me once, that it stays with me to this day, "We have gone through hell, and one must never forget what happened to us, but we cannot let that darken our future." During my time as the UN police advisor, I visited most of the countries where the UN had a peace operation. What always captured my attention during those visits was the mentality people showed. The happiness I saw among children playing next to tanks, women beautifully dressed in colorful dresses, living in a war zone. These people still believe that one day this would end, life would get better. Their hope was the motivation that kept me going. We have a lot of hate and evil in the world, but I believe and hope that the good will prevail in the end. Thank you.